Hey gang, this is Tom Verrilli. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Whatnot. You're listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show because there is no off-season.
This is Ray Schulte, and I'm telling you, the Sports Card Strategy Show, there is no off-season.
What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com. This is the Sports Card Strategy Show. Don't forget to get a free 30-day trial at NoOffSeason.com today to help you make money flipping sports cards, build your sports card investment portfolio, get unlimited advice from our experts, and take sports card school to navigate the hobby. That's NoOffSeason.com. Get your free 30-day trial today. All the data we use on the Sports Card Strategy Show is from MarketMoversApp.com. Use code NOOFFSEASON at MarketMoversApp.com to get 20% off for life after a free 14-day trial. All right, let's get to the Sports Card Strategy. What's up, everybody? Paul Hickey here with NoOffSeason.com. Happy July 3rd, everyone. We are into July. It is National Month, and tomorrow is July 4th, national holiday, celebrating our nation here in the United States of America. But we know sports cards is a worldwide hobby, and I am grateful that our audience spans the globe. So welcome in wherever you may be, and we're happy to have you. And today we're going to do something a little bit different on the show. Typically, we are all about helping you make money flipping sports cards. We're dropping the knowledge, dropping the data. We're going to do a little something different today. We're going to talk about the importance of learning from the hobby. Now, as our NoOffSeason.com family has grown exponentially over the years and significantly right here in 2024, I want to take a look back at a few key people that I've had the opportunity to interview in the hobby. Number one, GaryVee, Gary Vaynerchuk. We're going to talk to Gary Vaynerchuk on today's episode. Number two, DJ Skee. DJ Skee is very, very important to the hobby for many reasons. We're also going to talk to DJ Skee. And number three, Geoff Wilson of Sports Card Investor, Market Movers, and Cards HQ, and many, many other ventures. So we're going to talk to Geoff. I'm excited about that. But first, I want to remind you that CGC Cards is the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards. From their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing, CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Today's question of the day, I want you to drop a comment below at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. What have you learned about the hobby in 2024? What have you learned about the hobby in 2024? Whether you're new or whether you've been in the hobby for several years, we are happy to have you. And I want to know, what is new that you have learned about the hobby in 2024? And these next interviews are going to give you an opportunity to reflect on it. First up, let's talk to GaryVee, Gary Vaynerchuk. Here we go.
My brother.
What's up, my man? How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing really well. Thanks for doing this.
Happy to do it.
All right. You ready to rock?
Ready to go.
All right. Gary Vaynerchuk. Welcome to the Sports Card Strategy Show and the NoOffSeason.com family. You and I have met a few times, man. Digital Uncorked, VoiceCon, and the last 2 years at the National. Tell the audience here, why is it important for you to take time out of your schedule as an entrepreneur and operator to attend the National every year?
Because I love it. I think joy and happiness and doing things you like is important. Two, I believe that finding yourself in the trenches of any market is important. And to me, that's ground zero of the hobby. So I get a lot of value of getting a pulse of what's going on at the National. And, that's a very big and important thing for me. And so those are the two things that stand out.
Absolutely. I love that. So to that point, you were one of the first people outside the hobby back in, say, 2017 through 2019, roughly, talking about opportunities to make money flipping sports cards. Then, of course, a lot happened in 2020 and 2021. What opportunities do you see for our audience to make money flipping sports cards heading into the future?
It's a forever genre. I think what I saw in 18 was, there's a lot of elements that I think are going to work here, which was, basketball was exploding. So I felt like vintage basketball was an opportunity. There were some young superstars. The Kobe era was starting to, change, and the Giannis's of it all, things like that. I also felt like basketball vintage was very underpriced against baseball vintage. You had 45-year-olds like me at the time having, children that were starting to hit that 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old age. So that kind of thing. Social media created much more awareness. Pack breaking was entertainment. There was just so many things that were obvious. And it was the 2017 National in Cleveland, or 18, I think actually, that, being on the ground there, I was able to see that it was coming. And so that's what I saw there. Now, so there was just a big underpriced across the board opportunity then. Obviously, a lot's changed since 18. Now it's more in the edges. Now it's, I always like using real life examples. I bought a Bret Hart 87 Topps PSA 10 Pop 1 card this weekend at, I think, Golden's auction. That is my belief that wrestling is underpriced. It continues to get more popular. It just merged with the UFC. I think it's going to get more popular over the next decade. And Bret Hart is a true, top 50 wrestler of all time. And there's only one PSA 10 rookie card. That seems like a supply and demand opportunity. So I think, what do I see in opportunities of quote unquote flipping? You have to be smarter. There's the fun, opening wax. And of course you can get lucky. You can get lucky in anything, the lottery, a scratch off ticket, a slot machine. But if we're talking strategic investing around collectibles, I think understanding your supply and demand. One of the reasons I didn't buy any Zion rookie cards was I knew we're at the height of the hype. I knew that he was an injury risk because of his body shape, which turned out to be true. And I knew there was going to be 1 billion of those fucking Prism rookie cards graded PSA 10. And that just becomes supply and demand, right? It's always supply and demand. And so I think there's a lot of smart people that are listening to this that are going to figure out their supply and demand. And so you have to decide what do you think people want and what do they not want? I think there's so much speculation in rookies, and that's so hard, right? You speculate on Joe Burrow, he gets hurt this year. That's a tough market, right? Going even more emotional. Emotionally, I speculated on Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson. Usually when you invest with your heart, you're going to get hurt. So I have a lot of those rookie cards, a lot more Sam than Zach, not because I believe in Zach any less, but because, watching the market and knowing this from all the Brian Taylor and Todd Van Poppel and Mike Greenwell and Harold Miner and Rick Meyer rookie cards that sit in my attic. I did all the speculating in the 90s. I think, what are the opportunities? See some edges that other people don't see. If you hear that, this is not true, I'm making this up. If you hear that Cal Ripken Jr. is running for governor of Maryland and you think he might win and eventually become president of the United States, well, then all of a sudden Cal Ripken's 82 Topps rookie cards are traded or whatever, become a little more interesting.
Absolutely, 100%. We talk about the right card for the right player at the right time, and it's just getting harder and harder, to your point. So
I think it's easier and easier. I think it's easier if you think about it in a big way and harder if you think about it in speculating rookies.
Yeah.
Almost everybody is speculating rookies. New rookie comes out, you think they're going to be great, and it's a lot of high risk, high reward, and a lot of money exchange. Meanwhile, I think Hall of Famers and icons that can switch into popular culture. Look, I like being transparent. The other thing I've been spending a lot of time on is non-fictional characters. I think that Optimus Prime is more likely relevant in 50 years than Ken Griffey Jr. I think that Roger Rabbit and Bugs Bunny and Batman, And so I've been thinking a lot about that. Like, I think it's easier, not harder, if you take a more significant point of view. I'll give you a good one. Let me go sports, not weird. LeBron James. LeBron James is clearly this generation's Michael Jordan, and people spend hours. You know how many hours will be spent debating who's better, LeBron and Jordan, or Jordan today? Like in barbershops and college dorm rooms.
Hundreds of thousands of hours.
It's crazy. So to me, like, I like LeBron because I have a feeling LeBron matters in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Not to mention LeBron has 2 children who both have aspirations. The young one especially seems like a very significant prospect. LeBron's also proven that he cares about more than just basketball. So you can see him being a business icon, right? But it's supply and demand. Shaq is all that. And yet his rookie cards are in the junk wax era. And so they don't, besides the Beam Team Stadium Club one, they don't tend to. So this is I guess everything I've been saying here is I'd like to think a more intellectual conversation about thinking about which cards could be interesting. But if you keep demand in mind and you complete supply in mind, I think you can make some really good decisions. And I think you got to find timing. You got to zig when everyone else is zagging. If the market's soft right now, Steph Curry is going to be an icon forever. Find your moment to make a real play for a Steph. Those kind of things is what I think about.
Yep, we love it. We talk about going where they ain't, and I think you just nailed that. And switching gears a little bit, what advice do you have for content creators in the sports card industry?
Make content with words that you actually believe. I think the biggest issue I see with a lot of content creators is they're just looking to make content, so they're saying things maybe they don't even believe in that quarterback or that draft pick, or even things they're saying it just because they need to make content. So the only thing I would say is make content you believe in.
So we know about your background with Vayner Sports, with VeeFriends. What else do you have cooking up for the future related to cards and collectibles?
I'm just in it. I would say those are probably the 2 things you touched on the most. Those are probably 2 arenas that will keep me in trading cards the most. The sports agency business is always dealing with the Paninis and the Tops and all that of the world, Upper Decks and Leafs and all that. So I'm always close that way. And then obviously what's behind me here, right there, I'm really on this 50-year mission. And obviously Pokemon is on a galaxy by itself, but I really, really am inspiring to make VeeFriends that significant. And you can see it on the eBay completed items. Like, we've got some real momentum going, and it's early. We're a couple years in, and it's going to take a couple decades to really form out. But those are the 2 things I'm most focused on, besides my personal collection, right? I literally bought a card yesterday or the day before, that Bret Hart, and so I'm still looking, I'm eating my own dog food. I'm trying to find my unique angles on things that I think are underpriced, and I focus on pop count, and I focus on where is there not as much demand as there might be in a year, 3 years, 10 years, 30 years.
To the point about your personal collection, one thing I wanted to ask you is, at what point do collectors become hoarders? How do you navigate your PC? How do you make your decisions with your PC?
I just want to own it. I'm not overly worried about I look at it as collection, not investment. And if I pass them on to my kids or grandkids or whatever fate has in store for me, I'm cool with that. And I'm also open to selling stuff in the future. If I'm 71 and the New York Jets are for sale and it's my moment and I have to liquidate every asset I have, I'll sell every fucking trading card I have because that's the moment. Or if I don't get lucky enough to put myself in striking distance of that professional dream, I might be 80 and want to buy a ranch with 800 acres and just zen out there. And if the best liquid option I have is some trading cards, I'm not against selling stuff. I really haven't sold anything since I've been back in this era publicly. A lot to do with being a public figure, and I don't want to put myself or people in that precarious of a spot. But, I'm not worried about being a hoarder. Being a hoarder and a collector is the same exact word. Let there be no confusion. They're one and the same.
Great point, man.
You know what I mean? They're one and the same. But I think people that put being a collector only on a pedestal need to give themselves some breathing room in case they ever want to sell something. And I think people that look at themselves as just flippers It's okay to fall in love with a player or a collection and keep it forever. Everything's allowed. I'm running late for my next meeting. I got to run. We'll talk to you.
Thanks so much, Gary. Appreciate it, man.
Bye-bye.
All right, great stuff there from GaryVee. Lot to learn, lot to talk about. Drop a comment below at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. Let me know what you thought of that interview with GaryVee. Up next is my guy, DJ Skee. But before we get into the interview with DJ Skee, I want to remind you that we have a brand new partnership with a great business in the hobby, Mr. Minty. Mr. Minty is the #1 card pre-grade prep kit, and you can save 15% off your entire order at mrminty.com by using the promo code NOOFFSEASON. Check it out. All right, up next, let's get into it with DJ Skee. DJ Skee, welcome to the Sports Card Strategy Show and the NOOFFSEASON.com family. So pumped you're here, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Paul.
Absolutely. Skee, we help people make money flipping sports cards. I want to ask you, what percentage are you collector versus flipper? And have you ever flipped sports cards to fund your personal collection?
Yes, it's interesting. I launched a fund called Mint 10. So I've been able to segment my personal collecting with my investment collecting. Anything that's for an investment I've done through the fund, and anything that's personal, i.e. anything, all the Minnesota stuff, generally is through myself. So yes, experience on definitely flipping and buying cards. So
I love
mostly
that.
buying, not flipping as much, to tell you the truth, because we like holding. We still think that, especially given the market circumstances the past couple of years, we think that and where we see the future going, we've been holding a lot of things versus letting anything go recently.
That's awesome. I want to unpack that later on. Real quick, you mentioned Minnesota. I know also that you're a U of M fan. And so I want to say quickly, as much as it pains me because I'm an MSU graduate, congratulations on the national championship.
It's funny. I started working with the University of Michigan a few years ago. Harbaugh reached out because I do a lot of entertainment in the sports world. And first game I ever did was the Ohio State game that they won in 2021. Which was the first time they had entertainment at the Big House during the game and a DJ. And since then we've amped it up, and I'm fortunate enough to say that I've been undefeated since I've been there at all those games. So, and that's why I'm like debating. I'm like, is this it? Like, I can't one any higher. Like, do I retire? Do I step away as a hero right now? Right?
No, we need you to come over to Michigan State. I need to talk to some people at Michigan State. We need to get DJ Skee over there, because if you're undefeated at U of M, we need you.
Let's go
over in East Lansing, baby. So.
Love it. I love it. I just love sports. I love the entertainment element. So it's been
great,
such a fun run, man. So.
That's great. So real quick on that note, talk about the Blake Corum card. You just designed a card with Blake Corum and that NIL release. Can you hit on that real quick?
Yeah, 100%. I've got a new business called The Realist. It's an authentication and kind of collectible company focusing on on-site authentication, witness-based, where we are witnessing artists, athletes, etc., documenting things very similar to the way that MLB's authentication does, which I think is the best in the industry, and we're taking that to other sectors. It's powered by some former MLB authentication executives as well. So teamed up with Blake, we're going to be auctioning off some other items that you'll see from him in the future, game-worn things, etc., but to take advantage of what we knew was coming from the Rose Bowl and what we hoped from the national championship, and him just being a good guy, and us. We'd been talking about doing a card with Michigan guys for a long time. It kind of came together perfectly. So teamed up with him to create this, this really cool card that, designed, and we're having him autograph a serialized number 200 of them. And we did an incredible run. Fortunately, Blake was the hero of the Rose Bowl and the MVP of the national championship game for Michigan. So it worked out perfectly. It's a really high quality, really cool card that we're doing witness-based authentication, which means one of our representatives is there documenting, watching him doing that, and assigning our gold seal to that item. And it's in direct partnership with Blake, and it's sold on his site and at therealist.com. So it's such a fun project, and just the start of more that we'll be doing with Blake and many other athletes.
Awesome. It is a sweet looking card. And speaking of sweet looking cards, you have designed cards for Topps. You have ski companies, which includes Coffee Breakers and Mint 10, which, for those of you who don't know, includes Collectible, Wax, and Genamint. You're an angel investor in specific companies in the hobby like Whatnot, Loop, and culturally significant businesses like StockX and even Underdog Fantasy. And that's like not even 1% of what you have going on. So I wanted to ask you, what are the top 3 factors you look for when starting or investing in a sports card hobby related company?
Sure. So for us, it's I think number one boils down to the team, right? What I've learned over the years, right? Like you can have the best idea in the world, but you need the team that can go out and execute that. So I'd rather invest in a decent idea with a great team because I trust that they're going to figure it out versus just a great idea with an unseasoned team. So I think that's first and foremost. Secondarily, is like figuring out a problem that's solving a real world issue and has real world implications. And that means like, look, there's a lot of things that make sense on paper, but when you take them through the consumer journey, that there might be places that, is somebody really going to go out of their way to use this? Does this make a difference? Is this something that can be duplicated easily by a competitor? Is this something that has, legitimate traction, and trying to find those fault points at any step in that ecosystem? Because building a business is wildly difficult, right? The vast majority of them will not succeed, especially in the startup world. And that's the price of the pay. So you want to think through things that, and get out of just hearing the hype that everybody else is talking about and seeing what you think really has, the legs for it. And then lastly is things that I can really, that I believe in and passionate about, and that I can add value to, right? Like if it's a space that I'm like with sneakers, StockX and Dan Gilbert's team reached out to me because I had a huge sneaker collection and was kind of a figure in that world and scene, and they wanted to add the credibility and get the knowledge from those that were in it. And so it worked out really, really well with StockX. So I want to work with companies that I can really help out, meaning that if it's like a med tech business, probably not my wheelhouse, right? And so it's got to be something that I can, sink my teeth into and play the unfair advantage that I have in the sector to help out beyond just cash.
Are you looking to invest in more sports card hobby related companies?
So we definitely in the future. Right now, our fund is fully deployed, so we're not making investments in the moment at that. We'll wait on the cycle to come back, and we've had a lot of great wins. You'll see Whatnot we got in early on. Genomit got acquired by PSA. We invested in Knox, which got acquired as well. So we've had some good wins out there, and obviously waiting on returns for certain things just in those market cycles. But it's definitely something I want to do. However, also too, it's a time suck and a commitment. The other thing is, in launching a new business for me, I want to go all in and focus on that. So kind of that combination is while we wait out that fund to kind of come back, and while I'm launching this new business, that's become my priority.
Talk real quick about that new business since you brought it up.
Yeah, so therealist.com. So again, we thought that in going through and investing in all these companies, right? Like I started looking at what drove the value of game used and stage use memorabilia. And similar to art or anything else, the value strictly goes down to provenance. The Michael Jordan jersey that sold for $10 million on Sotheby's is no difference material wise than one that you could buy for $250 from Fanatics. The difference is the fact that Michael wore it in the game, and the level of provenance was that high. Now, under that, we found other jerseys that might sell for 20 grand that claim to be game worn, but don't have a high quality provenance. And in looking at what certificate of authentications were, it was things that it's literally I, Paul, in my professional opinion, think that Michael Jordan wore these shoes. No licensing, no legitimacy, no science and data behind them, ripe to fraud. The FBI estimates that up to 90% of items in the marketplace are fraudulent, which is wild when you think about it. And in looking at programs, photo matching, as we've seen, is so easy to do. There's so many ways to get around that, from recreating items, right, to match a photo, to what we've seen with people faking photos in Photoshop and using them to line items up. We think witness-based authentication with trusted third-party people that document the whole way, they don't have an incentive in that upside, is the only way to go. MLB's authentication program is probably the best in class. And that was kind of where we took the foundation from, and have taken that to another level, and not even focusing just on the primary sales, but on the secondary sales. We have a really unique covert marking kind of fingerprinting tool that we use, that we can revalidate things in perpetuity. So we can not only guarantee items at the initial sale, but on each subsequent secondary sale. So we're really excited about that business. We launched a big auction with Megadeth to end last year on the music side. We just launched the Blake Corum drop, and you'll see us working with a lot of other teams, players, leagues, artists, athletes, and film and even TV companies. So
You've infused hip hop culture into so many of your card designs, from Topps Project 70 and 100 card designs. Some of my favorites, I'm just going to list off my favorites here.
Yeah,
There's
I'd
so
love to
many
hear.
of them. Acuna, AT Aliens.
That's my favorite one, I think.
Is that your favorite one?
That and the Otani are my favorites.
I mean, I've got the Jackie Robinson, BIG Life After Death, the Mookie Betts NWA, Death Row, Kendrick Lamar, the Mike Trout Death Row records. I bought the Mickey Mantle, Marshall Mathers LP. I mean, the Byron Buxton DMX, Kirby Puckett Purple Rain. There's just there's so many where you've hit the culture along and infused that in with the sports cards. These cards all sold out on Topps.com fairly quickly and consistently sell well on the secondary market as well. I'm sure this type of mainstream success didn't come overnight for you. Can you talk about the journey, and what are the top 3 things you want to tell our audience about who may aspire to create card art like this for a major sports card manufacturer?
Sure. So I'd always, it was funny is I've always been an artist, right? And a creative, and it spans multiple things. Obviously I made my name primarily in the music industry as a DJ. But it's part of that, right? Like if you look at my journey, I, started off in the mixtape realm and DJ sector, right? And in mixtapes, we were photoshopping and creating our own covers and creating these wild things, especially if you look in the early 2000s. You'll see a lot of those ones that I've did with, Kendrick, with Game, with Snoop, with all these artists over the years. So when Topps approached me, I was obviously a huge card fan. I was doing some content for them around the first Project 2020 that they did. And they told me they were going to do Project 70. I was like, I'd love to be involved. And then it took me a while because I was like, what am I going to do? I didn't want to just design a card and something. I didn't think that was special, and that was what was going to be my unique voice, right? And I didn't think that would make sense. And then I was like, I'm overthinking, and it's obvious. Let's remix these covers, right? Let's take sports and music, which is what I do, right? Running entertainment at the Vikings, for Rams, University of Michigan, Twins, et cetera, all these different places. I think that, I was like, let's do the same thing with cards. Let's take iconic, artists and album covers and pair them and put athletes in them, right? Let's take Ronald Acuna Jr. and put him in the AT Aliens cover, which is one of the craziest covers of all time, right? Let's take Byron Buxton and, the BUX, DMX that just passed. Let's put that together. Let's take Prince, Kirby Puckett, Purple Rain, right? Deion Sanders, Migos, Culture, all these things that lined up and remix them, right? And fortunately, it really connected. I think the storytelling that I tried to do and all that, there's so many hidden elements that I put in each card. There's so much time spent on just the thought process behind them. And luckily it connected. I remember doing, Fernando Tatis's card with Bad Bunny, and his team reached out. He loved it so much. They brought me out throughout the first pitch of the Padres game. And we've talked about doing some other really cool collabs. But I think sports and music, that's really where I sit and where I live, and the lifestyle elements of those things. And I was super thankful for Topps for giving me that platform, and super thankful to the fans that went out and supported and bought that and bought into that story.
I could talk to you for hours and hours, man, but did a great job just staying true to yourself, staying organic to yourself. And it shows in how well everyone in the market connected with those cards. So
thank you, man.
DJ Skee, thanks so much for joining us on the Sports Card Strategy Show here on the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network. It was awesome having you, man.
Paul, you're the man. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you all for the support.
All right, Skee, thanks so much for being on the Sports Card Strategy Show. Hopefully you guys liked that conversation with DJ Skee. Up next, one of my favorites, Geoff Wilson, one of the best entrepreneurs in the hobby. I have a lot of respect for Geoff. Geoff and I sat down and had a great conversation about many, many things that we're both passionate about in the hobby. So before we talk to Geoff, just a quick reminder about our partnership with Whatnot. You can get $15 on Whatnot by signing up through this URL. Just type in whatnot.sportscardstrategy.com. Sign up for Whatnot if you're not already signed up, and you can get $15 off your first purchase. And also, let's talk about Geoff's business real quick. Geoff's business, one of his many businesses, is Market Movers. You can get 20% off for life at marketmoversapp.com after a free 14-day trial. Just go to marketmoversapp.com and use the promo code NOOFFSEASON. All right, everybody, let's talk to Geoff Wilson. Jeff, welcome to the Sports Card Strategy Show and the NoOffSeason.com family. I'm pumped you're here, man.
Paul, I am happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Jeff, we help people make money flipping sports cards. You have a ton of experience as a sports card investor and have no doubt been through some ups and downs over the last few years in the hobby, as most of us have. What opportunities do you see moving forward for our audience to make money flipping sports cards?
Well, I will say it's a lot harder today than it was a few years ago, right? 2019, 2020, early 2021, man, those were the easy days. That's when, you could buy just about anybody and watch their cards go up in value and flip them and make some money. It is definitely not that way today. I mean, more cards go down in value than go up in value. It is more difficult. But even with that said, there are opportunities, and the opportunities out there are to get on a trend before the trend actually happens. And a lot of times that's getting on the hot player before the player actually becomes hot. Now that's tricky to do, and it's you're wrong a lot of times, and sometimes you're right. If you were buying Jordan Love cards in the off season or CJ Stroud cards right when they were coming out, you did pretty well over the course of the season. And there's a number of players like that, obviously, in all the sports. But it is challenging. I think your best opportunity to buy is in the off season, well before the start of the season. Typically, relatively early in the off season is your best opportunity to buy. That when nobody's really paying attention to the sports, you typically see prices of any sport fall immediately after the season ends for every player. Typically, even the players that win the championship, sometimes their cards fall after the season ends. And once you're a couple of months after the end of the season, typically prices bottom out. And then as you start to get towards the start of the following season, prices tend to rise and go up right before opening day. So it's that off-season time that I think the savvy sports card investors and flippers are making their buys for the next season. Of course, there's other ways to make money too, like buying raw and grading and that kind of thing. But I think do your work in the off-season, I guess, would be in the early off-season, I guess, would be one piece of advice I would have for everybody.
Definitely great advice there. I don't care what anyone tells me. You and the team at Market Movers have created the best app for tracking sports card data. Tell us about the value proposition of Market Movers, along with some of the challenges of creating an app for the hobby.
I appreciate that. Thank you. We take great pride in the fact that we were the first app of its type, right? So when we brought that to market in early 2020, there was not a single product out there that would allow you to chart and, graph cards and track your collection price movements and all that kind of stuff. Nothing existed. We were the first to market. And we were proud of that. And we're proud to have the largest database of cards of anybody out there still to this day that are being tracked through Market Movers. It is challenging to build an app like that. And the reason why it's challenging is because the marketplaces, and honestly, particularly eBay, don't enforce standards or have standards when it comes to how cards are being named. So that's why it gets tricky, because people name the cards slightly differently. Sometimes, unfortunately, they name them deceptively. That happens on eBay all the time, where it's PSA 9, but they put looks like PSA 10 or something in the title, or it's a raw card and they put PSA 10 ? Or it's a base card, but they put silver, even though it's not a silver. And so unfortunately, for any type of data product like ours, all of those things throw the data off. So then that puts a big job on our team to be able to sort through that and get rid of non-matching sales and normalize the data and everything like that. And that's part of the reason why it's pretty difficult and tricky to do. But, we put a ton of effort towards it. We have a big team that works on Market Movers and our Sports Card Investor app and our web price guide. And every day we're in there and, looking at the data and improving the product and continuing to build upon it, because it's our vision to be not only the best app of its type in the hobby, but it's really our vision to be able to empower collectors with more data, more knowledge, and allow them to make more confident buying and selling decisions. And that's what we're trying to do with our products.
We love that here at the Sports Card Strategy Show. I know our audience does as well. Let's talk about content marketing and content creation for a second. Whether everyone watching or listening realizes it, my opinion is that every person participating in the hobby is a personal brand, quote unquote. And anyone who posts anything hobby or PC related on social media is actually doing their own version of content marketing, content creation. Your brands, Sports Card Investor, Market Movers, The Geoff Wilson Show, even Card Kids, have led the way in many regards for content marketing in the hobby. Why is content marketing important for any hobby business? And how has Sports Card Investor been so successful at it?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that. I think content marketing is critical for any business because it is a free way to reach the world. I mean, it is your best way to get the word out about yourself or about your business or whatever it is you're doing. I think social, look, I know there's a lot of downsides with social media and all that kind of thing, but like, I choose to look at the massive upside. And that is that we are living in this era of the democratization of media. And what I mean by that is 20 years ago, there was no way for me to start Sports Card Investor and have anybody know what the heck it was unless I was going to somehow get lucky and convince ESPN to do it. Or if I was going to buy time on the local cable TV station. But I mean, other than that, there was no way to get the word out. And now anybody who has a point of view can start their own YouTube, can start their own social media accounts, can share stuff out there and can find a network of people who believe what they say, who like what they say, who or maybe they hate what they say, but they want to hear it said anyway so that they can debate it and argue it and whatever it may be, but you've got that ability to reach out to people. And the coolest thing about all of it is it is free. It's all free. It just takes the time. It's the time commitment. Just putting in the grind and the hustle. And look, we've got a big team at Sports Card Investor. We've got incredible production capabilities now, amazing people who make all of our stuff look fantastic. But it didn't start that way. It started with just me. And I literally filmed the first many episodes on my iPad and I edited them on my Mac myself in iMovie. So it was very humble beginnings, extremely humble beginnings. And, why were we so successful? A couple things. Part of it was right place, right time. Part of it was I got out there when the market was just starting to boom. Part of it was that I think that there was uniqueness to what I was talking about and nobody else was talking about that back then. There was no one really out there, especially on YouTube, talking about the dollars and cents of sports cards and price movements and investment opportunities. Nobody was talking about it. So my content was different and unique. And I think that that's something that people can take away and apply to any content that they're doing, even today, right? Like different and unique helps you find a niche, find a place, right? And so that, I think that was a big piece of it. And then, the other piece of it was repetition, consistency, commitment to making it better and better. I think those things all came into play. And it is a long game. A lot of people get frustrated and give up. With any business or any whatever, it's like, it's easy to look at the company that is overnight, there's a saying, right? You're an overnight success story, 10 years in the making, right? And so that's the thing. It's like people forget the grind, they forget the hustle, they forget how long it takes. And that's the barrier of entry. And that was true for us as well. I mean, I grounded out, to get my first, 1,000 subscribers. Like it wasn't easy. It's easy today to look at it and go, wow, 300,000 YouTube subscribers and, all this production quality and everything like that. it was a lot of grind and hustle along the way, to get to that, and a lot of consistency, and it takes a while. And so people have to have that level of commitment.
Love the hustle, the grind, and the consistency. It never stops. And another thing is the innovation. You have not stopped innovating as well as you've gotten those repetitions. And one innovation I want to ask you about, tell us about the Sports Cards for Dummies book. How did that come about? Why did you decide to do it? And where can people get it?
I think it's awesome. I'm so excited about that project. So Wiley, which is the big publishing company that, has the For Dummies series, they approached us about it. They said, hey, we want to do a sports card collecting and investing for dummies book. We think there's a need for it in the market. We think it would do well. And I jumped on it right away. And the reason why is because I am a big proponent of expanding the hobby and bringing new people into it. I think the hobby is one of the greatest things on earth. I think it's wonderful. And I think kids getting into the hobby can help them learn a lot of life skills. It teaches them, negotiating and finance and entrepreneurship. And, there's a lot, hustle and talking to people. And there's a lot of great stuff to the hobby. The community's wonderful. The having it just collecting, and the art of collecting is wonderful. So I love sharing it with more people. And one important aspect to getting more people into it is having really helpful resources to help new people get started. And there's somewhat of a lack of that in the sports card world. Look, cards are complicated. I mean, this isn't an easy thing. Like, there's a lot to learn for somebody new getting into it. I remember my learning curve was pretty steep. And I remember one of the first things I did when I started to get back into it again was I went to Amazon and I searched for books about sports cards, and there was absolutely, or not absolutely nothing. There was like 2 that came up. Now this was, 6 years ago, but there were like 2 that came up back then. I think there's a few more now. But there was a lack of good books or information for beginners. And so now there will be a really great book for beginners, and it releases April 1st nationally. It's going to be available on Amazon, and I think we'll probably have it in different retailers as well. It'd probably be in Barnes and Noble, and maybe in Walmart and Target, and spots like that.
No doubt. I wish I would have had that book when I got back into the hobby a few years ago. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So hopefully our audience will go check it out. Geoff, since Market Movers takes data from multiple online marketplace platforms, and now you own a card shop, by the way, which we haven't talked about yet, I believe there's a white space for you to fill. So I'm going to throw out a little challenge for you and get your take on this. I've long thought that if a card shop could aggregate data and put it into Market Movers, then hobbyists could compare online sales data with in-person transactions to a certain extent. Is this something that you've thought about? Is it possible to do from Cards HQ? Is it valuable to the Market Movers subscriber?
I think it's very valuable. And the answer is yes. I absolutely want to do it. I think that is something that is completely missing from all of these data sets right now, is in-store, or you could even say like at card show transactions, right? You're only seeing online. You're not seeing in-store. You're not seeing at card show. That's a huge segment of how people buy and sell cards. So we are, in fact, going to wire up Market Movers so that it gets all of the sales history from transactions that take place within Cards HQ. And we're excited about that. We don't have it ready yet. It's not ready here day one, but it will be ready relatively soon. And it will be something that we're going to integrate in for sure.
I can assure you I will be talking about that a lot on the Sports Card Strategy Show, because that is something I have really, really wanted in the hobby in terms of these data tools. And there's already a bunch of different differentiators, reasons to use Market Movers. And I look forward to that one as well. Geoff Wilson, thanks so much for joining us on the Sports Card Strategy Show here on the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network.
It's been fun, Paul. Appreciate you having me on, man. Keep doing your stuff. It's great.
All right. Thanks so much to our guests today, Gary Vaynerchuk, DJ Skee, and Geoff Wilson. Everybody, thank you the nooffseason.com fam for joining us. Just a couple of reminders. You can go premium at nooffseason.com today. Get a free 30-day trial to help you make money flipping sports cards if you're not already a premium member. And you can text the word sports cards to 1-833-992-5727 to get free sell alerts to alert you on your mobile device when it's time to sell your sports cards. Just text sports cards to 1-833-992-5727 to get sell alerts. Thanks for bearing with us as we do a little bit something different on this episode of the Sports Card Strategy Show. We'll be back with our regularly scheduled programming to help you make money flipping sports cards and the premium pod coming this Friday. Everybody get your questions in at nooffseason.com/ask. Can't wait to answer them. Everybody have a great day. Thanks so much for being here with us on the Sports Card Strategy Show. To connect with us further, please subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. Please also give us a follow on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy and on X at No Off Season Card. We also have a Discord that you could join at sportscardstrategy.com. Everyone, I'm Paul Hickey. For the rest of us here at nooffseason.com, have a great day. We'll see you again soon.